that's how much I plan to keep this plant alive and with me for the rest of my life. Hi everyone, it's Marianne, and for today's video, I'm sharing with you 12 of my plants that I'm going to take with me in case of an emergency. Thank you so much for joining me today. And this type of video has been going around plant YouTube for quite a while. I know Nick Pileggi just came out with a similar video very recently, and I do remember making this type of video a long time ago, but back then everything was hypothetical. But right now, this is real life. This is something that I actually have to do right now, very recently, and I kind of been vague about it in the first plant chore vlog that I did for this year, although I did kind of mention in the video that I just came out that basically I am or have to move to a new place. So this past few weeks, I really had to make a quick decision on what I need to do with my houseplants, which ones I'm going to keep and which ones I'm going to be selling. So I've actually sold quite a few or a lot of my plants this past week or so. I'm still selling a few in a local DC plant group, which shout out to them and taking my plant babies off my hands and knowing that they're going to really good homes. But there are really certain plants that no matter how dire the situation, I still can bring it in me to let them go. So these are the 12 plants that I'm bringing with me in case of an emergency. And in my case, it is a real life situation, no longer a hypothetical. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Marianne. Welcome to My Wasteless Life, where I take you along my houseplant and sustainable lifestyle journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. I also share some personal and travel vlogs here and there. So if that type of content interests you, make sure to subscribe to my channel before the end of this video, and make sure to also like and comment down below. Let me know which of your plants that are going to take with you in case of an emergency. I would love to know. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So as of filming this, as you can see, I still haven't moved into my new place. And I'm actually very excited to share with you the whole moving process, moving my plants and plant styling them in my new place. But right now, they're not with me, but I still very much do have these plants in my possession, but I'm just going to be sharing B-roll clips of those plants since they're still in my old place. And the very first plant that I'm going to bring with me in case of emergency is my Pothos. And if you've stumbled my channel at any point, it's probably because of my Pothos videos, and you know how much I love my Pothos plants. When I first started collecting my house plants, I tried to collect every single variety that I could get my hands on when it comes to my Pothos plants. But even before this move, I was already in the process or was already curating my plant collection and downsizing. And I really pick and choose which Pothos plants that I want. But in an emergency situation, there's really only 2 Pothos that I'm going to bring with me, and one of them is my Pothos. And as you can see in this clip, it is a very lush, beautiful plant. It's trailing so long, it's very beautiful. And I figured if I'm going to keep a variegated Pothos plant, then it's definitely going to be the Pothos. While other varieties of Pothos that are variegated are beautiful, like the Marble Queen Pothos or the Snow Queen Pothos, or even the Pearls and Jade Pothos, I prefer the variegation of the Pothos the most, and it's also the most unique among all the Pothos plants. So definitely I'm keeping my Pothos. I have sold cuttings of it though, but the mother plant is definitely staying with me. And the second Pothos plant is my Cebu Blue Pothos. Even though it's suffering with mealybugs right now, it is a plant that holds a lot of sentimental value for me, and it's also a plant that's not easy to find in my area still, even though it has been a lot more common in many places in the United States. And as you can see, like the Pothos, this is also such a lush and beautiful plant, and I'll be crazy to let this go. The situation might be bad, but not that bad for me to let go of my Cebu Blue Pothos yet. And I actually have sold or given away a lot of my Pothos plants already, but this too is something that I was I could spare cuttings of it, because since this plant still hold a little bit of higher value, I was able to sell cuttings for a pretty good price. So for me, I was satisfied with just making money off the cuttings of the Mandula and the Cebu Blue Pothos instead of selling the whole plant, because I know eventually I would regret selling those plants if I did so. And the next two plants that I'm going to keep with me or bring with me in case of emergency are Scindapsus plants. And you know I love my Scindapsus plants. And I think I've mentioned it before, maybe in my top 10 video or in my favorites video for 2022, is if I could only keep one Scindapsus pictus, it is my Scindapsus silver lady. And I have the exotica, I have the silvery Ann, but I actually already sold the exotica, and the other propagation of the exotica I gave to my sister. The silvery Ann I still do have, but I am or have put it on sale. I'm just waiting for someone to buy it. So if I'm only going to keep one Scindapsus pictus in my collection, it is definitely the silver lady. So kind of like with the Manjula and the Cebu Pothos, I have sold cuttings of it. But as far as keeping the mother plant, I'm definitely keeping it. It is a Scindapsus plant that I grew from cuttings that I got off a trade. So for me, that's also one of kind of like proof of my success as a plant parent. So there's no way I'm really letting that plant go. And the other Scindapsus is the Scindapsus Silver Hero. Kind of like the same situation, maybe even like a lot worse than the Silver Lady when I first got it, because it was pretty much a dead plant when I got it off an import order, and I was just left with yellowing nodes. But as you can see from the clip, it's such a lush and beautiful plant now, shingling and everything. And I did sell a couple of cuttings of it too. I might sell one of the plants in the pot because there's like 3 or 4 plants in the pot, but I am going to be keeping this Scindapsus Silver Lady among all of my other Scindapsus. Like, I still have the Scindapsus Jade Satin in my collection and the Tribii Moonlight, but if I only get to keep one of them, it's definitely going to be the Silver Hero when it comes to my non-variegated Scindapsus plants. And the next plant that I'm going to bring with me in case of an emergency is my Syngonium alba. And I don't have a lot of Syngonium in my plant collection. I had the Syngonium triopens, yes, I was able to sell it for the entire plant, and it's a beautiful plant. I know it has been growing so big and everything, but it's just something that I can't bring with me in my next place, and I think it would be better off it went to another home. And as mentioned, I'm not really much of a Syngonium person, so it was okay for me to let go of that plant, although it was like still a bit hard. And even though it's such a highly variegated Syngonium alba, it's such a very low maintenance plant. I really don't have to worry about it all. I did sell a bunch of cuttings off the plant, so I still have a smaller version of the plant, but still a lot of it. And the Syngonium alba, like I said, just grows and is low maintenance like any other Syngonium that is not as variegated. So I'm not really worried about this plant bouncing back, and I'm pretty sure by the end of the growing season, I will have the same size of Syngonium alba again. And I was planning on putting it down anyways before any of this happened. So I'm okay with having like a smaller Syngonium alba right now, but I love this plant. I don't think I'll be able to let go of the entire plant entirely. I have let go of my Syngonium triopens and my other Syngonium, the Syngonium confetti, which is also a beautiful plant to be honest. But it's something that if I could only keep one Syngonium in my plant collection and I have to take in case of emergency, definitely the Syngonium alba. And the next genus of plants that I'll be picking from is my ficus plants. And honestly, if I have my way, I am keeping all of my ficus plants in case of an emergency. And right now, I'm actually keeping all of them, but if I had to choose among my 4 ficus plants, I have the Ficus lyrata, Ficus audrey, Ruby ficus, and Ficus taniki. The first one that I'm definitely going to be keeping is my Ficus lyrata or my fiddle lip fig. And I know for a lot of people, this is probably an easy plant to give up, but for me, the fiddle lip fig is what started my plant collection and started my plant journey. I got it as a rescue plant back in 2019, and I've never had any problems with that plant once it bounced back. And as you can see, it's a very lush and beautiful plant. I pruned it recently if you saw my plant chore vlog, and it never really gave me any issues, and such a beautiful plant. So for me, this was a no-brainer. I didn't even consider for a second selling that plant. That plant is going to be with me until one of us dies, and it's probably going to be first before that plant. That's how much I plan to keep this plant alive and with me for the rest of my life. And the second ficus plant is the Ficus audrey. The Ruby ficus elastica is already with my sister, and as much as I love the Ficus taniki, it was a wishlist plant that I had for a long time. It is a much smaller plant than my Ficus Audrey, which has grown so much, and it also started pretty much the same size as my Ficus now, maybe even smaller. But now in just a couple of years, it has grown so much. It's practically a tree now. It has branched. So for me, it's also a plant that maybe for other people find as finicky as the fiddle fig, but for me, kind of same situation, never really gave me any issues. And it's just such a beautiful plant. I'm actually very excited to bring it to my new place because I think it's going to make a excellent part of the decor for my new place, the Ficus Audrey. And the next two plants that I'm going to bring with me is from my Hoya collection. And I've never considered myself a Hoya head, but if you look at my entire plant collection, I actually own a significant amount of Hoya plants. I do tend to lean towards the easy care, beginner friendly Hoyas because, like I said, I'm not a Hoya head. I don't really have the interest nor the patience to take care of the more finicky Hoyas. So the very first one that I'm going to keep in my Hoya collection is my Hoya Carnosa Queen. I've actually already sold my Hoya Carnosa Princess. It's that huge one that used to be in the Wally Eco Planter. I've sold that already, and I just decided to keep the Hoya Carnosa Queen. One, because I love the variegation of the Hoya Carnosa Queen more. It produces fully white and pink leaves, which I love. And if you have been watching my videos for quite a while, you know that my Carnosa Queen is also producing a branch that has the Carnosa Princess variegation. So I feel like I still get to keep some part of the Carnosa Princess, even though I have already let go of that plant. And the second Hoya that I'm going to keep, which honestly for me was a very difficult choice, not because of this plant in particular, but because of the other Hoyas that I have. Like my Hoya Carrii was one of the earliest addition to my plant collection. It is the very first Hoya I ever had, and it's now such a large plant. And I still have the plant, don't get me wrong. I am selling cuttings of it, especially now Valentine's Day is coming up. But if I'm going to choose which other Hoya to keep, it's going to be my Hoya Polyneura or Hoya Fishtail. I want to keep the Hoya Fishtail as opposed to the Hoya Carrii. It's just because the Hoya Fishtail has been a wishlist plant for so long. I traded a Thicon Monstera to get a cutting of a Hoya Polyneura. That's how much I wanted to have a Hoya Fishtail as part of my collection. So it's going to be hard for me to let go of the plant, even though it's one of like the more newer addition to my Hoya collection. And it's such an easy grower for a Hoya that used to be so rare and so uncommon that I can't wait for it to really grow really big and have a full pot of it. Right now I have that like 3-inch pot of it, which started from like a single leaf cutting. So I'm really excited where that plant is gonna go this growing season. And the Hoya Carrii, like I said, is still part of my collection, even though I'm selling cuttings of it. But if I have to pick which Hoya to keep and bring with me in case of emergency, is going to be my Hoya Carnosa Queen and my Hoya Fishtail. And for the next plant that I'm going to keep in case of an emergency is my String of Hearts variegated. And I used to love string of plants very much. I did have quite a collection from the String of Pearls. I have the regular String of Pearls and the variegated, both of which I killed. When it comes to the String of Hearts, I had the regular String of Hearts, which I also killed, and I also have the Silver Glory still. A lot of it also have died off, but I still have like a small pot of it that is still in my possession. But if I'm only going to keep one string of plants in my collection, it's going to be the String of Hearts variegated. And honestly, it was a debate between that and my Discadia variegated, but I wanted to go with the String of Hearts because String of Hearts variegated was also a wishlist plant of mine for a long time. And the String of Hearts variegated and the Discadia were actually the first plant gifts that I ever received, and it came from a subscriber. So that String of Hearts really hold a big sentimental value to me, not just because it's a string of hearts. And also when it comes to value, it's a plant that I don't really see quite often in my area still, and it's such a beautiful plant that I can't let go of it. I did sell a propagation of it, and that's also the thing about the String of Hearts variegated. Once it starts growing, it might be a slow grower at first, but once it starts growing, it grows pretty much like a regular String of Hearts. So if I need to make propagations of it, sell some cuttings when I need some money, I can do that. So I think we're down to the last plant that I'm going to bring with me in case of an emergency. And this was a hard choice because I have a lot of plants in my collection that are still in my plant collection that I had a hard time giving up, or like when I was making a decision should I sell this or not? I kind of like debated whether I should. And there's actually a plant that I put up for sale, and when it got sold, my heart was just like it plummeted. Instead of like being happy that the plant sold for the price that I set it for, like the person did haggle, which thank you so much. But at the same time, my heart plummeted when it sold. So, and it's like one of my philodendron plants, and I do have a lot of philodendron plants that I added into my plant collection last year that have really grown a big place in my heart, but none of them made the list just because they are the newer members in my plant collection. And as Matt, you have seen in the pattern of the plants that I've been mentioning, these are plants that like hold really sentimental values to me, or plants that have been with me for a much longer time. So while some of the philodendron plants that I didn't sell are still very much part of my plant collection, they didn't make my plants that I'm going to bring with me in case of an emergency list. The plant that took the last spot is my mango plant. And the mango plant is one of the plants that I grew from seed. The other was the avocado plant, and very recently the dragon fruit and the pineapple, which I grew from a store-bought pineapple, which has been with me for like 3, almost 4 years now. Even though I had like great success in germinating mango seeds, the mango plant is the one that I'm keeping with me just because I'm really proud of that plant with how I grew it, how fast it grew, and I grew it from a Philippine mango or a honey mango. So again, there's that sentimentality, the connection to the Philippines and being Filipino, and I love the smell of the mango leaves. It's just like very unique and very fragrant that for me it's hard to let go of that plant. Like the avocado plant, I can let go of that. The pineapple plant, maybe, especially now that Trader Joe's is selling like pineapple plants that have the actual pineapple fruit in it already. So for me, it's okay to be letting go of the avocado, the pineapple, the dragon fruit. Honestly, it's also an easy germinator, and I just started doing it, and I just started having that plant, so I can let go of that plant very easily. But for the mango plant, it's just something that I have to keep and take precedent over other plants that might be more valuable, like my philodendron verrucosum, the pink princess philodendron, and even like my Epipetum pinnatum albo. It's just something that I really can't let go and definitely have to be part of my collection come hell or high water. But wait, that is not actually the entire list. I'm still missing one more plant. And if you have any familiarity with my plant collection at all, you're probably asking, Marian, what the hell did you do to this plant? Don't tell me you've sold it already. No, I didn't sell it. I didn't even sell cuttings of it. And it's my Thigh Constellation Monstera. And you've known that I've killed the Thigh Constellation Monstera that I want from Costa Farms, and but I still have the Thigh Constellation Monstera that I imported from Thailand, and I am definitely keeping that plant. So kind of like with the fiddler fig and some of the other plants that I mentioned in this list, I didn't even think twice, or I didn't even think for a second that I'm going to sell the plant. I'm going to keep it. I think for me in the longer run, it's better that way anyways. If I could get the plant to grow a little bit bigger, and if I'm really in a dire financial situation where I have to sell cuttings of the plant, it could go for a higher price, and it's going to be a much bigger plant. But yeah, so those are the plants that I'm gonna keep with me or bring with me in case of an emergency, real life situation version. So I'm sorry if it's like a little bit of a bummer in some parts, but that's where we are right now. But this process also made me realize how deep is my love for my houseplants. And honestly, at one point I thought I'm over the plant hobby, or I'm not as in love with my plants as I used to be, like when I first started. But like this entire process or this entire transition that I'm going through right now in my life just made me appreciate my plants more, and also kind of like reminded me how much I love my houseplants. And honestly, my houseplants has been my saving grace during the entire process, not only to help me financially by selling a bunch of them, they're also what kind of helped me emotionally and mentally to just be like, be able to go through everything that I'm going through right now. So, shout out to my plants. I love you all. But yeah, again, sorry to be cryptic or anything. It's not on purpose. But I want to move into my new place before I like share anything because it's gonna make more sense that way. And of course, I also don't want to like be oversharing on the internet. That's just not me. I just don't want to do it while I'm still like maybe emotional about it or not in like a very good place to be talking about stuff on the internet when it really is just more of my personal life and nothing to do with my content. So, but as I mentioned in the blog, there are changes happening. So I think it's only fair that I do share with you in general what's going on in my life. And honestly, as bad as the situation is, there's a lot of things to be excited about that I'm really looking forward to and what I choose to focus on. So that's going to be fun. I am excited about, finally getting my own place and everything and the content that I'm going to be able to make in my new place. And I can't wait to share with you what those are. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, do subscribe. I come up with videos every week. And if you haven't yet, check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other and have a plentiful day. Bye.